Hey, welcome everybody. Episode 36. I am Jason DeBilius. You ask and you shall receive because I got to give the people, what they want. Din, 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 din. Catherine, her professional name, Parent. Katherine Parent. What's up?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. Good to go. So we were
Yeah, me too.
So we were talking about like how New York City feels like the new ground zero. Very similar to 9/11, except like the difference was like 9/11 there was an end game, right? You go there, the buildings already fell. There was this moment of residual fear and terror. Uh, um, and we were talking a little bit about that off camera. Can you talk about the comparison a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty?
Well, we were both here for 9/11 and we experienced that together in the city. And the thing about that, how terrible it was, there was an end game. I remember the military coming in. I remember the cleanup process. I remember all the hospitals, getting ready, and then it was done. And then we were healing as a nation and healing in New York City from that tragedy. The difference now, it's an unseen enemy. I really do believe that. And
Yeah.
I have been in New York the whole time since the COVID started and the protesting and even the riots. I think you saw my video that was right outside of my apartment, of the not riots. It was a protest that took place, but windows were broken on my street, and so you have this residual fear of things, and it's definitely not easy. But I'm still here. I'm still doing it. Surviving, and all you can do is hope for the best.
No doubt, no doubt. So can you give us a brief synopsis? How the hell did this COVID thing even happen?
You
There,
know,
did it come from a bat? There's a whole bunch of urban myths about it, and
there's a lot of things online circulating, a lot of some crazy theories, and sometimes viruses can jump from animal to human. That has happened before with other viruses, and in this case, this is what happened. COVID is something that we've never really seen before. It's in a family of coronavirus. There's other strains of this virus, but this particular one, COVID, which is SARS-2,
right,
is something we've really never seen before. So, a lot of people want to throw. I've heard that it was created in a lab. Wasn't created in a lab. When sometimes it just can jump from animal to human, and that's pretty much what happened with us.
right. You know, I gotta tell you, it is scary in the sense that, and I'll just go recent. I'm jumping to the present, so I'm gonna drive a little bit. They have testing kits, right? And
They
now,
do.
first there weren't enough testing kits, and now they're saying the testing kits aren't reliable.
Well, that's the thing. So many tests are being created very fast, and no one has ever done studies on these particular tests to look at a margin of error. So I've read some articles where it says 50%. I've read some other articles 70%, but they're still just testing a small population of those tests that are being done. And as you know, there's two different types of tests. There's one for active infection with the nose swab, and then there's another antibody test that you can get done, which a lot of people are doing up here. So you're right. All you can do is the best that you can do, but there is going to be some variance and false positives and false negatives. It's no test is 100%.
No, no doubt. The other thing, my other concern is, and I feel like I'm rushing through this. Is Does it have something to do with strands? Like because it's different strands? Maybe the testing
It's a
kits are trying to
different
keep up with the
strain. Yeah,
strands.
it's
Strands.
different. And I read a really interesting article, and I think it was on CNN, but that the more that they're researching this virus and the more they're testing this virus, again, it's like unlike anything we've ever seen before. They're looking at not only is it respiratory, but it's also affects the vascular system. So, and that's something that didn't occur for SARS-1. So that's the problem. Everybody's still learning about it. I mean, the studies are being done, but I mean, this is a novel virus to us. So a lot of research money is being devoted to develop vaccines, to do other testing to see what kind of therapeutic medications may be able to help or shorten the hospitalizations. And that's like it's so rapid right now because everybody's grabbing at straws. We got to get this, we got to get that, and with that, a whole can of worms is open because you can't rush research. It's not something that can be rushed. There's certain phases in clinical research. A drug or vaccine or biologic or a device needs to go through, a certain clinical trials, phase 1, preclinical, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, before it can be submitted to the FDA. And usually these things take 12 years for normal stuff. And actually, when I started learning about it, it was 19 years. So I just pulled up an article today. It said 12 years. I'm like, what did I miss?
Oh my God.
Because it takes a long time.
Jesus.
It takes a long time. And so these things are fast tracked. And I agree with the fast track. I think, we definitely need a vaccine. I worked on the Ebola vaccine here in the United States, phase 1. That was a fast track vaccine. And that, took a good 4 years to get on the market. So they already had that vaccine. So this vaccine everybody's making it. They already had the vaccine, but it took 4 years, 4 years before it was approved. And that's fast track. So you need the safety data. You can't just give it to somebody and say, hey, guinea pig, here you go, give me your arm, let's see what happens. You have to have, a standard. And, clinical research is there. I really believe it's there for the people. We owe it to the people of the world to make sure that the products that are on the market are safe and effective. So it's not something that can be rushed. So that's been on my mind too, because there's several different companies developing the vaccine. About 5 or 6 of them got Department of Defense funding, and they're going through it. I mean, they just started in May for phase 1. I think there was one that maybe started a little bit before. But yeah, we need the safety data, and the only way to get the safety data is to have larger trials. So when you finally get to phase 3, you'll have a bigger trial, and to make sure you have the safety data to back up that vaccine. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I'll tell you, everybody is really, from what I've seen and what I've read, and it's amazing what they're trying to do. So I'm hopeful. I am hopeful.
Yeah, there's I think a human one, right? I was reading on CNN or watching CNN. The rare occasion I do. I think I watch CNN just so I can vet what I think is true or not. I watch MSNBC because of its one-dimensional propaganda, and I watch Fox News for satire. So that's the healthy balance.
I sometimes watch all of them too.
Yeah.
I want to get an idea of how other people are thinking.
Then
about
I watch
things.
BBC so I can feel smart. Come on, anyone that talks to you, but look, come on, we're Americans. Anyone that talks to you with an English accent, you already assume he's smarter. So
that's true, actually.
It's ridiculous.
I believe that.
In our head, behind our head. So CNN reported that there were human trials underway for an antibody cocktail. So that part of testing. When you're talking about testing, you're talking about, I guess, getting a sample size. When did they start doing it on humans?
Okay, so right now for those studies, I believe they're most likely in phase 1. Sometimes you can do a phase 1 and a phase 2 study together. It just depends on the study. But the antibody cocktail is a therapeutic, so it's used to treat someone. So someone who's severely sick in the hospital,
someone that already has it.
You give them the antibody. Someone who's really ill. It has nothing to do with vaccines, so it's completely different. So, what was your question? I forget. What was the question?
No, you do these tests, and you're in the lab, like Pinky in the Brain and shit. And then you're like, when do we start doing human beings?
Well, they already are. They already are doing clinical trials with that stuff. But again, in clinical research, because it's had such a colorful history of problems that have happened without regulations. And as time has gone on, like, for example, the Tuskegee experiments, the Nuremberg Code that was developed after World War II,
Wow.
the thalidomide. Have you heard about the thalidomide babies?
No.
So, so
Tell me.
regulations have happened after these like pitfalls. So clinical research has a certain, you have to go preclinical and then you get approval from the FDA based on that data to do a phase 1 trial first in humans. So I believe that the antibody cocktail is already in phase 1, but I have to check that to be sure. But again, that's just to treat someone who's already infected in the hospital. That's somebody who's very ill. So there's a lot of different modalities and a lot of different treatments that are coming up out of the woodwork, really. It's a big race, because a lot of people are dying. So
Yeah, no doubt. I have before we have a little fun here because you're first of all, this is extremely helpful information. My boss
good.
Duran Forbes asked me to ask you a question. She I think she might be with her daughter right now, so I'll ask for her. COVID, as far as being on surfaces, I understand there's more of a lingering. It lasts. I'll just say it in my terms. It lasts longer on some surfaces than others. For example, like a metal surface, I understand it can be more than a half a day, right? In the air, if you have a distance, it's gone in seconds. In our wheelhouse, volleyball, we understand it's how long would it last on a surface like leather? We have a ball.
I don't have that
we have a
information,
ball.
but I would assume that it would last longer just from reading and listening to what's happening in the world, that, the incubation period for this type of virus is much longer than something else. So, I mean, just be vigilant and careful. And I wipe everything down. I have a system when I come in my house. I have my outdoor clothes and my indoor clothes. And I'm not suggesting anybody else do this because I'm a little, but this is how I do it because I live in a hot spot in New York City. I have sheets come off, my hand sanitizer, come in, wash my hands. But I try to really minimize my risk. And that's really what it's about. So if you're worried about it being on surfaces, just, wipe up, have an area that's for your outside stuff and then inside stuff until this thing, resolves itself, which we have no idea when. Everyone.
Is there a big difference between just using hand sanitizer or just soap?
I mean, both work. I mean, I think soap is better. Wash your hands. What's his name? I can't remember his name now. CNN.
Tapper. Oh, Cuomo.
Yeah, no, the other guy.
Tapper. Jake Tapper.
No.
Don Lemon. Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, why can't I remember his name? Anderson Cooper. He's like, sing happy birthday when you wash your hands. I mean, it works. You're there really washing your hands, but it's kind of crazy. Some people just don't think it's that important, but it really to minimize your risk. I mean, that's what it's about. Because we don't know so much about this virus, that you have to minimize your risk. You have to do everything in your power to protect yourself and other people. Like, I'm a firm believer in wearing a mask. It's not so much for me, it's for other people that are immunocompromised, going through chemo. You can't tell if someone's sick when you look at them. So it's respectful, I think, to just assume that whoever's around you maybe has a problem, maybe has like some kind of immunity problem, maybe, a compromised immune system or just plain sick. But we have to protect each other in this time. So I think, it maybe can stay on leather, but like I said, I'm vigilant and I wipe down my purses. So
yeah. Well, I as a sports guy, I have a quote from Max Kellerman from First Take, as well as Max Holloway, who's a mixed martial artist, former UFC champ. Treat it as if you have it and don't want to infect everybody else. So that's a very, very simple and wise approach to it. The whole time I'm talking to you, I'm just looking up. I was gonna just put up total cases and then cases by states, cases by cases by ethnicity, cases by age. I'm looking at the age, and it seems like 18 to 44 is the biggest one. It has passed 45 to 64. In those cases, and I really think just if people are just smart Smart. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, you go on Fox News, you have one doctor saying one thing, why it's safe to do one thing, and then CNN you have another doctor, and both are paid medical professionals, both because they have MD by their name, they're both trusted, and it's very difficult to decipher who's getting paid to say something that's not necessarily dishonest, but at the same time maybe not totally candid. And this is why I'm so glad to have you on the show because
Well, thank
you
you.
know,
Well,
no,
I'm not a physician. I can't give,
no.
I have worked in vaccine research. I, certainly worked on some pretty amazing trials that are, the H1N1 vaccine I worked on Ebola here. I worked on RSV. I've worked on meningococcal, vaccines in Peru, actually. I actually had a job contracting going to Peru and Guatemala and Puerto Rico. So that was fun.
You're in Peru?
Um, I'm sorry?
You were in Peru. Cool. Where?
I was, yeah. I stayed there for a while and then I went back and I actually worked there.
Oh, you stayed
So
there. Where?
right outside of, well, Lima was one site. And then I lived in Cusco in a small town
I
called
was there.
Urubamba.
I was there.
Really? Did you go to Machu Picchu?
I did, of course. And let me
It's
tell you something.
beautiful.
I climbed that thing like William Wallace, climbing the mountains, or like Rocky Balboa when he was training for Drago. I just wanted. I told my girlfriend and her parents, and actually Duke University. They were on an academic trip, so we went
Wow.
to Cusco, Puno, Lima, Lake Titicaca, but Machu Picchu was of course the feature. So I'm like, you guys don't mind if I leave you because y'all are just slow, and I'm this long line behind people. So
The
I,
altitude didn't affect you.
no, no,
Really?
nope,
Oh, I struggled.
no.
I was really heavy into kettlebells. I used to be a kettlebell instructor. Um, I guess 2013,
For like a cup of
2012.
coffee.
But when I was heavy into doing that and exercising, I was fine. I was okay there. But without it, oh my gosh, I had so much trouble adjusting. It was not easy.
So very interesting. This is from CDC. New cases by the age. Um, they have like this crazy map. Like the darker the map, the area of the map, I guess the more cases. Cases amongst
I think what I
HCP.
looked at it yesterday or today, but I think the death rate, the number of deaths due to COVID in New York State is 30,000 people.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm just looking at
And
the
I
large
mean,
one.
I think 400,000 have had active infections. Now, again, you look at that number, you're like, okay, well, the testing, how can you be 100% sure? So you're really looking at the death rate, but that 30,000 people in New York State and New Jersey's right behind. And,
Yeah,
it's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad. I
cool.
have a good friend of mine who lost her mother to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I had a close friend that survived it. He wound up in Harlem Hospital, and let me tell you something. I lived in Harlem for 12 years. You could go there for a cold and come out and
Come
not
out with
live.
who knows
So,
what.
so when he went there for COVID, I'm like, oh Lord, dear God. All right, cool. I'm just flashing the stats for people. New cases by the day. I'm flashing up. New cases by age. Cases by race and ethnicity. Percentage wise, it seems that white, non-Hispanic, and then after that, Hispanic, Latino, and then after that, African, Black, and African American. That's first, second, and third on the list. Let me ask you a crazy question, and which I guess in essence is not crazy.
What?
She said, "Hit me with your best shot."
Hit me.
You have. So you have states like Florida, right? You have states like Texas that their practices and when they open up and certain people, as far as herd immunity and just different policies in accordance to their governors, which our president, Mr. 45, left up to the governors, which I think is smart. And I mean, as far as dumb things the man has done, it's a pretty smart thing, right? Because managing COVID in Montana, right, where social, which brings new meaning to the term social distancing,
Yes,
is
totally.
different from New York
It's
to
different in every
California.
state.
Yeah,
It's different in every state. But I think if everyone is just vigilant, I mean, I guess if I lived in Montana and someone telling me to wear a mask all the time and I was, out on the ranch, be like, are you out of your mind? So yeah, I think that has to be looked at, like people per capita in the state. But I mean, here in New York, it's a no-brainer, but you still see people walking around without a mask and you're like, really? It's
Yeah.
so easy to put on. Like, it just takes a second.
Well,
It's not just respect for yourself, it's respect
no.
for somebody else. And look, we've all been through a lot here, and that it makes me nuts.
You know what's cool about California? Like,
But
you don't see a lot of people wearing a mask, okay? But in these areas, all of a sudden, when the air starts to get denser, everyone reaches in their pocket and, like synchronous swimmers, they just put on the mask.
so it's the smog
Yeah.
and not so much the virus,
We just,
right?
like you said, when something new happens, yeah. I mean, but isn't that smart? Like, look, some people can't run.
guess.
Some people are on a 3 mile run. They can't run with a mask. They can't fucking breathe in it. Okay.
That's
so
tough.
so do you
And
like
I've
not
seen
run?
people do that.
Okay, riding
Yeah,
a bike. You know, what I mean, doing some of these high demanding exercises in California is a workout culture. Okay, it's different out here, particularly in the South Bay. So I really liked that I mean, there is a rule, but as far as enforcing it and just being smart, except for a few assholes like, I'm not gonna wear a mask, but they've been really, really smart. Like, there was no activity on the Strand, and they closed the beach, and then someone's like, why don't you just close the Strand and open the beach? It's because as far as social distancing, there are more people that are going to create space with each other on the beach. Like, Hermosa Beach is 1.3 square miles, and that's more than enough. That's plenty of room. I mean, if you're in Hermosa, if you called me from one end to the other, they got to charge you long distance. There's a lot of space. So I really like what we've done here. Any indoor activity, supermarket, everyone's wearing a mask. Anything that requires you purchasing something or standing online, you're wearing a mask. Some of the restaurants have opened, but now we're going, once this table's empty, this table's people. This one's empty, this table's people. So I don't know what phase they're in, but I like it because if your only other option is to stay in your house until a vaccine comes, that's not a reality.
It's not. There's no way that people are going to do that.
No.
We've been inside too much in New York City. I'm telling you right now, because it was really, really hard. April, May, you can't just, we're not meant to stay in our apartments if you live here. You're always outside. You're always doing something. You're having drinks with friends, or you're going out, you're going to the park, so it's enough to make you crazy.
Yeah.
I think
they would have rioted if this thing didn't happen.
Yeah,
sooner, right? I mean, New York just boiling over being in your house, man. You just start to hit yourself in the head. Yeah,
not easy. And my work, I travel for my job, and that's non-existent. Everything is done online now, which is an adjustment. And I certainly wanted a break from work because I was pretty tired at the beginning of the year. But now I miss it. I'm in my house too much. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm blessed. I still have a job right now. I'm working in oncology.
Yeah.
So, I am one of the lucky ones. I mean, imagine yourself being a business owner, a restaurant owner, and you've had this restaurant open for 30 years, 40 years, and all of this has happened, and you have to close down because you just can't afford it because of the rents. I mean, you know how expensive rent is here.
Yeah.
That is heartbreaking.
Honestly, I stopped owning. I stopped owning a long time ago. I mean, I stopped renting a long time ago. Before I moved, like 5 years before I moved, I was on the Upper West Side. I was in 87th and West End, and we owned it, Yeah, I was like, forget this rent stuff, man. I mean, I'll deal with the maintenance because that's a pain in the ass too. And co-ops, there's all kinds of freaking rules, but but if you have the right, it's about location. It's a really nice spot. You know the spot. It's right near Hudson River Park.
Broadway.
Yeah, 98th. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But I lived in West End Avenue is like right there. Hudson River Park's there. Central Park's there.
Yes,
Five Napkin Burgers there. Carmine's. Remember, used to go to like to go to Carmine's all the time.
For my high school. Yeah, for my graduation party for college, I went there. I love Carmine's. It's so good. But see, all the restaurants are closed, and you're just kind of, you're getting takeout sometimes, but it's the energy is so different here. They're struggling, But I don't know. I'm hopeful. That's all I can say. I'm hopeful for the best. I'm taking it one day at a time. That's all anybody can do, really.
Yeah. Well, you've answered already a lot of cool questions. I mean, like the why testing's not reliable at this point, and this and that. As far as paying for a vaccine, because every this country collectively, and you'll appreciate this or not, you have this tribalism with everything, and my most recent example is going to be vaccines. If someone doesn't want to get a flu shot, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, he's not he's anti-vaccine. He doesn't this," and then when someone wants vaccines for everything, they're on one side. So for me, I'm kind of in the middle because we worked in a cardiology practice for 17 years. I never once had a flu shot. I never once had a flu shot. So how important is, like, when the vaccine comes, this is Kathy, when the vaccine comes, everyone's going to get it. They're just going to smarten up and be like, "Hey, I ain't trying to get I ain't down with this COVID. We're all going to have it. We're going to treat it like child immunization, measles, mumps, and rubella, for Christ's sakes." How important, as far as paying for it is concerned, what are the concerns about that?
What, paying for it?
Yeah.
Like money, like who's going to pay for the vaccine?
Well, that's the question. Like, for me, honestly, it should be the government. You know why? Because we got this vaccine for free. Our tax dollars paid for this vaccine, paid for their right, and we'll both agree their gross neglect, regardless of partisan values or party commitment. No, they screwed up. They screwed up. This is their fault, and we should not have to pay for that.
Yeah, the cost of medications is craziness. And when I was a poor student, as you remember, and I was on Advair, and my insurance wouldn't cover Advair at the time. It was $395 for just 30-day supply. And I couldn't get it. So I traveled in 2012. I traveled all over the world. I took a year off, and I was in Romania, and I had run out of my medicine. And I went and got the same medicine there, and a different dispensing thing, but the same medication. And guess how much it cost me?
$10.
$40.
Whoa.
So, I do have a problem with how much things cost. I understand how difficult it is to get any kind of medication or drug in the market. You have 5,000, you have 5,000 different compounds that you're looking at and doing testing on, and maybe 5 will make it to phase 2, phase 3, and maybe you'll get one winner. So,
and then when the winner comes, but then when the winner comes, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not going to know unless you have big trials, like, especially with COVID. We're waiting for the preliminary data to show safety, to show efficacy, and then do a placebo-controlled trial that has tens of thousands of people. So you have statistical proof that, yes, this indeed works. So it takes time, it takes money to do those trials and to do them well. That's a whole other, conversation. But yeah, I do think there should be funding. These companies that are making the vaccine have gotten government funding to do the vaccines. So yeah, I believe that, this should be covered. I doubt very much it will be, but, we'll have to see.
I guess the point I was trying to make, if they're trying to mandate that everybody must have the vaccine and maybe execute some kind of executive law that says they have to do that, they have to make sure that they have to meet the people of the United States of America in the middle. All right. I
don't think anybody can make someone take a vaccine. Like, you can't force that on somebody. It would be smart to get it, after it's been proven safe and effective. But you can't, like, as a government, I don't believe you can do that. And I actually had a disagreement with somebody who's working with HPV, human papillomavirus vaccine.
Yeah.
And she was saying, every young person should get it. I'm like, I understand why you're saying that, but when you start to say, the government's going to start saying, you have to take this pill, you have to take this vaccine. No, we have certain freedoms here. You don't have to. And she was pissed off at me because I wasn't agreeing with her. She's like, I think that's neglect. I'm like, I have a problem with the government telling me to take anything and forcing me to do it. So
and in this case, the neglect is the government. They were derelict in their duty. Listen, you were part of the Ebola, phase 1 team, okay? That, to my understanding, was handled a lot better and of course a lot more dangerous and a lot more dangerous.
I'm telling you, that was the best study I ever worked on. The lovely ladies that I worked with, we're so hard on that. I lost sleep. And it was so worth it, because that to me was the highlight of my career. I had a site in Texas and a site in California. I was going back for a year and a half, boom, boom, on a plane all the time. I was so tired, Jason, so tired, but it was run so
Exhausted
beautifully
in a
and
good
so
way.
well. And I'm proud of that study. I'm proud of that data. I really am.
But that's the point I was trying to make. That's something that we saw coming, and we weren't neglectful of that. Well, there's so much more at stake because it's Ebola. Okay, so I'd like to find another disease and pick another example relevant to COVID.
Well, think about it this way. I believe that there are about 7 different Ebola strains right now. They don't have vaccines for them all, but I think that there's some cross reactivity where, one might work for the other. I'm not 100% sure. I got to look it up and read. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because they had the vaccine already. The Canadian government had the vaccine and then sold the vaccine to a small biotech in the United States. And this is all public information you can get online. So that vaccine was already there. And we already knew a lot about Ebola because there was a lot of different strains, and it didn't really change that much from one strain to the other. The problem with COVID is that even though SARS-1 was, in Asia, I forget when it was, what the year was, but, I would say maybe 7-8 years ago, maybe more, that didn't come over here, but this is a different strain and we didn't have anything. We had nothing. So we just started seeing these coronavirus cases coming in. So they had to make the vaccine, right? Do all the regulatory stuff, get the sites up and running, make the protocols, doing the research now, getting the funding from the DoD, and thinking about manufacturing, which is going to be billions of doses. How are you going to get that going at a faster rate, a fast pace? So there's a lot more to this, not minimizing Ebola, because Ebola is very serious as well. But, a lot of people, the transmission is longer for this for some reason. It's not in the same family. It's a different virus. So knowing all that, even if it goes through, how are you going to manufacture that many doses for people? And they're already working on that. But these companies, like 7 or 8 of them, have funding from the government to do the research. And it just started in May. I think the first study started in May. Mm-hmm. So
if they have the funding to do it and they start charging people to administer it, they're the ones that profit from it.
Yeah, there are profits to be made. This is, that's probably going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be set at. They might make a deal with the insurance companies to automatically cover it. I don't really know what's going to happen. Your guess is as good as mine. I'd be interested, to know and to follow that, to see kind of how they're going to make it work. A lot of people are asking me, when are we going to have a vaccine? It's so hard to say. There's so many factors. There's factors that people aren't even thinking of. From what I do in my job, I monitor clinical research. So I make sure the data is correct. It's done well at the site, that it's true data, and it's been entered into a computer system, and I verify that. So that's my job. So, something can happen in a research study where something's not monitored well, or, a delay, like an IRB delay, or maybe they can't get subjects in, or maybe, there's just a lot of different factors that go into it. So it's not as simple as, oh, here you go, let's just test it and then be done with it. There's a lot of moving parts, to protect people and safety. And that's what research is. You got to protect the subject first. So it's a long road, and they have to make sure it's safe. And the only way to do that is time and having the data, So it's going to be a road. It's going to be a road. I'm hoping it's going to be here sooner rather than later, but it's definitely a long road.
Why is Florida and Texas done so well with this and better than most states, the highly populated states?
I don't know. I was reading an article, and I think I printed it out. It said that the second wave is coming in some of these states, and I thought Florida was one of them, that they're seeing an increase in COVID cases right now.
Let me tell you something. I think the thing that even scared the hell out of everybody was Florida made national news when, remember I call it the beach scene. They have a picture like everybody on the beach. It looked like fucking spring break, for Christ's sakes. And when that
Oh
happened,
yeah,
when
there
that
were so
happened in
many people.
California,
I know, I know.
when that happened, you know what happened? The very next day in California, Newsom shut everything down. And for me, it came back to just being smart. And I was telling my friends, if you don't behave like adults, the government's going to treat you like a baby. And that's why, honestly, that's why everything got locked down. I mean, I understand the purposes of things getting locked down because they say they want to flatten the curve. So this way, it mediates. You know what I'm saying? It mediates the amount of bodies that go to a hospital and get treated for. This way, it can be treated where hospitals aren't overrun. I get that. And if the curve, this is my question: if the curve is flattening, that's when I think the next phase should start. Now, Texas and Arizona a little bit and Florida, their first wave wasn't even that bad. And they looked more socially irresponsible. And maybe I'm just getting carried away because I saw the news. They seem more socially irresponsible than everybody else. You know, it seemed like a herd immunity thing, and I think that's what you said. It just comes about caring about your fellow man.
Yes,
You
yeah,
know?
and being respectful of that, and you just don't know what anybody else is going through. Somebody can be walking down the street and they could have cancer, and you have no idea, and they're going through chemo during this terrible time, right? So it's just here. I think it's a necessity. I'm worried about the second wave of things to come. Nobody really, from what I understand, they don't know if this is seasonal or not. And I use that term very loosely because
Warmer weather helps combat it.
I'm sorry?
Warmer weather helps combat it, right? To my
Yes,
understanding?
there is some data that suggests that warmer weather and the sun can stop it. But the flu is a seasonal. I use it lightly because the flu never goes away. It's just in the summertime the cases plummet. So there's a certain time frame. So they're trying to figure out if coronavirus is like that too. So, and that, again, we just don't know. So there's a lot of different research that are being done, a lot of different studies with a lot of different therapeutics. So help is on the way. I really do believe that. I have no idea when. It's anybody's guess.
One of my friends is a medical professional. Asked me what my blood type was, and I told him O positive, right? And he's like, "Oh, you're good. You're good to go." So I started reading studies that were suggesting that O positive was more combatant or resistant or not symptomatic to that, and I was like, "That's bullshit." I read
something about that too, but I don't know.
No, but listen, Kathy, the coolest thing about this conversation is I will never just go on someone that says studies show. When someone says studies show and they rest on that, I think I speak for you on that too. Oh, really? What was the study? Where was the study done? I'll speak on my terms, okay? Volleyball, right? Study shows that midline passing doesn't really make a difference with just like facing your angle. And I'm asking the guy, I'm like, okay, what was the study? I'm like, was it in men's volleyball, men's beach volleyball? And they're like, no, it was indoor. But I was like, so it's men's volleyball. It's like, no, it's women's. I'm like, was it a D1 program? No, it's D2. And I'm like, did the team have 15? Did the team have 15 players? And no, it had 9. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you did the study like 2 weeks? No, 2 days.
Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion.
I'm sorry. Studies show what? So
you have to read between the lines and do your own research. I mean, that's what you need to do. I mean, just for this podcast, I was online looking at actual studies of the history of clinical research and why we do certain things the way we do, and so people have resources to go to, a real published study. To look at things and educate themselves. Anybody can read a study. So
the O positive thing, there's 6 different studies on it now. But my conclusion based on that was that just reading the 6 studies, that I think that O positive people, they just probably have it. They just don't know it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the virus sees your blood type and says shoe fly, don't bother me. I just think, they don't know it. It's crazy. Like I tried to, go to donate blood, man. They're happy you're O positive. So,
Yeah,
so
you're the universal donor.
yeah. The only reason why I even knew because in the military on your dog tags have your blood type. It has your religious preference and your name and social security number.
Hmm.
But studies show, and I was going somewhere with this, and I'm gonna steer us both off the cliff. So put on your seatbelt.
Okay, it's on.
You might have seen a recent Facebook post I made, just talking about, be nice to each other. It was dealing
Yeah.
with race and
Yes.
just
Yes.
understand each other, be nice to each other. If someone fucks up and they say they're sorry and you suspect their apology is legitimate, forgive them, understand, come together instead of just I mean, because if you don't forgive, people just stop apologizing. They just start making rationalizations, and it's bad for kids. If we want to be a good role model for kids, then
Hmm.
they're just gonna try to escape responsibility all the time because there's
Yeah,
no
I agree
because
with that.
the penalty for everything is death. If the penalty is everything for death, you're gonna deny it, right? Kathy, run a stop sign, death. You're like, I won't do it again. I'm like, I know. um, so So I got pissed because someone introduced an FBI study saying that black people um, like have a black person problem. Like there's a study that shows that black people are killing each other more than white people were killing black people. And there was another FBI study saying the people that were committing all the crimes were black people. And this guy, once someone hears study shows, oh, facts are facts, facts are facts. And I'm like, no, I have two words for you, lurking variables. All right. And I gave him
Yeah.
an example of how the crime stats could be skewed. There's a police detective, Sergeant Michael Wood from the Baltimore Police Department, quit his job because for almost an entire year, his captain instructed him and the men under his command to go out there and make arrests. I need you to make 3 arrests today. And he's like, but nobody committed. He comes back and he's like, no one did anything wrong. He says, I don't care. Tomorrow you find 3 bodies and you jack them up. So my question to you, let's pretend it's not Baltimore. Let's pretend it's another urban area. Let's pretend it's New York City. All right.
Okay.
Let's pretend it's LA. Let's pretend it's Houston. Just so I can give you a good imagination. If me and you are cops and we have to jack someone up or get fired, are you going to the Upper West Side? Are you looking for the nearest 3 white kids chilling in Central Park? No, you're not. You're going to find 3 bodies in Harlem in an area that looks like people are causing trouble and jack them up. So
I can't
so
even
now
believe that they were having this conversation, that
quit.
this actually happened.
He quit.
I'm
He was
blown
on Joe
away.
Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he quit. And he says there are other officers like me that didn't quit. And there are many officers like me that did quit, but it's out there, and it's a huge fucking lurking variable to people who think, who are scared of black people because this stat shows that everyone's committing crime, and the people that introduced that stat are totally irresponsible. I mean, not the FBI. The FBI is this guy is some guy in a statistics lab is just doing numbers, and I'm like, here, sir, those are the numbers. So I don't really hold him culpable because you have to start somewhere. But it pisses
You
me.
answered your own question, though. You said you don't believe anybody who says, oh, this study, that study. So you're thinking for yourself. You're looking at that. You're looking at the data, how it was organized, how it was collected, how long it was collected for. So you're thinking about it the right way. You're reviewing it. I'm not exactly sure where this study was published, if it was published in a peer journal, but this is what the conversation has to be. Pick it apart and say, this is bullshit. Like, you have to be, think outside of the box and just don't, take those numbers. Some studies that are done are not good. Some are retracted, but published studies are in peer, not magazines. Yeah, magazines like the Lancet and the New England Journal of Medicine. Peers review it, look at the data, and say yes or no, this study is going to be published. And sometimes it is retracted. So you're doing what you're supposed to do. I would expect nothing less. Problem is people just gloss over it and don't pay attention, right? Like they just, I'm not that color, so it doesn't affect me. I'm not saying I feel that way because you know me,
Right.
but I'm saying it happens, and it happens a lot.
Yep.
Oh, that has nothing to do with me. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Well,
And
someone posted me and copied and pasted one of the quotes I did in that long diatribe and says where I said, ignorance I can tolerate, stupidity I will not.
but it's true.
Stupidity
And
is protected ignorance. Kathy, if you tell me why I should stay inside, all right, why I should wear a mask, okay, and you offer reasons that are backed, that are peer reviewed or whatever, and I choose to be set in my own ways because of how I feel, that might make me a little stupid. All right, because ignorant is I didn't know. Like ignorant,
yes.
no, but ignorance is I didn't know before the show, and then you let me know, and I'm no longer ignorant. So stupidity is protected ignorance, meaning you're just set in your ways, and the reason why I'm even bringing this up because everything you're talking about. Everything I talked about as far as crime stats and everything you're talking about as far as medical stats and studies are concerned are important that people at least listen.
Yes.
And if their heart of hearts they feel it's wrong, how about go out there and educate yourself, do some more research, talk to some more people, and be very careful to not just take something that the first thing you Google search. Because we do this. Come on, we all do it. I do it.
Yeah.
You do it.
Everybody does.
So, but this is a podcast. All right, we know this. But for the people listening, it's important that we say these things because we're educated. We're shooting the shit here, and we're just. I feel like we're just getting started. But it's important that people don't just Google search something that fits their argument and say good enough. You hear something. Doesn't sound right, do some research. Listen, just listen, and I mean.
Have you ever posted something on Facebook without really reading it and not really realizing the context of it? I mean, I think every person has done that. You're just in a rush. You're like, oh my God, look at this header, but you didn't really read the article.
Yeah,
I'm guilty of that. I've done that a couple of times. And I have to remind myself, really think before you share. That's a whole other separate issue, especially on Facebook, but really think before you share because some of the stuff on there is just not true. And you have to be careful and you have to be responsible. Like if you're going to share something, like at least do your due diligence. So I agree with that.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Oh my God. So when you looked outside and saw a bunch of protests, you sent me this video.
I did.
You sent me this video.
I never thought.
Actually, let me just put it up.
While
you're talking, I'm gonna put it up.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I'm gonna just put it up.
Okay.
These people are just walking.
That's right outside of my apartment. I'm like, what's going on?
When you showed me this, it looked like you ever see The Walking Dead?
Uh-huh.
Or you see like this herd of people?
Yes. At least 200 people.
No, but moving at that zombie speed.
It was bad, Jason. I was scared. I was scared.
It was moving.
I was definitely scared. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Because, you're scared about your windows. They were breaking. Like a window got broken. I don't want to say it was the protesters. Who knows who did it? It could have been anybody. But a window was broken in a liquor store and they had to board it up. And then the next day you see all of these stores down Madison that are all bolted up. Everybody's afraid of like the rioting, so you got that on your mind too. So you have to worry about that and you got to worry about COVID. So I've had it. I've had it in 2012, it's been an experience that I don't want to repeat.
No doubt. No doubt. And the crazy thing is like I was the head coach of Hunter High School. That's not like a place where you would see riots or windows broken.
No, you wouldn't. But I mean, look, I saw the whole thing. I saw one guy get arrested. He had some blood coming down of his head. I didn't see what happened, that altercation. But for the most part, it was peaceful. And I really think that the police handled themselves well. I think it could have really gotten out of hand. And I was happy to see that. But I was nervous. I was really nervous. I was thinking, oh my gosh, who knows? Like, you don't want anybody to break in your apartment. I don't agree with rioting. I understand the anger, but the rioting part is scary. I felt scared. I really did.
And for me, I have a message for a lot of people who are I don't like to use the word cancel culture because it sounds like I'm picking on them, but anyone that says they don't agree with rioting and anyone that tells that person, oh, it's because you just don't understand, I call bullshit on that, because black people, all right, don't condone the rioting. Black African Americans, Latinos, okay, anyone that's been oppressed or anyone that's gotten brutalized by the police, they do not condone rioting, particularly them, because the majority of the rioting doesn't happen in areas where they know how to pay off the police. Okay, the rioting happens in areas where the people that stand to lose are them. So of course not. So I mean, and I don't need a white whisperer. I don't need a black friend to tell me that I understand or I don't understand. No, rioting is wrong. Demonstrating peacefully is super necessary. And I hate to sound like the bad guy in this, but rioting is what brought the attention, though. It sucked. And I'm not saying it's mind you, I'm citing as a pretext. I'm citing as a pretext. I'm not saying it's a necessary evil. I'm just saying that rioting brought more attention to the peaceful protest. Like Malcolm X brought more attention to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King tried to demonstrate and protest peacefully, right? And what happened? He got tear gassed peacefully, not throwing bottles at the cops, peacefully, just trying to cross a damn bridge. Okay. So when Malcolm X basically said, you know what? A cop takes a shot at me, maybe I'm going to take a shot back. Do you know what they said to Malcolm X? Why can't you be more like Martin Luther King? So I'm not saying super necessary, but I'm saying sometimes a violent act makes everybody just snap to and say, hey, these people are protesting, they're getting their message across. Why can't you be more like them? Because when they protested peacefully, they still got beat down. When they protested peacefully, they got moved into designated zones where people can't see the protest. Okay, and that happens. They're designated. It does. Yeah, when Bush came to Madison Square Garden for the RNC, the only place that people could let their voice be heard were in designated areas where no one can see it.
Where no one heard them.
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
Yeah, and that's not a part. I'm not trying to get political, but it is one of those situations where you want your voice to be heard, and you deserve your voice to be heard. That's one, and two, it's called civil unrest for a reason.
It has me thinking differently about race. It has me thinking, I have friends of all color, I love them dearly. And I never really understood deep down what it must feel like for my friends who are of color to be afraid all the time and walk down the street and have that constant fear. You know what I mean? That constant fear that you're going to be singled out. And my friend, who's a fellow monitor, he's such a nice guy, Bill. And he wrote something. He said, it's not that like the whole all lives matter. It's not about that. It's about right now, your friends of color are really having a tough time and are scared and they need our support just walking down the street. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like. I know what it feels like as a woman, walking down the street at nighttime being scared, but that has nothing to do with constantly being worried. Are you going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time because of your skin color? It's terrible. And it's still crazy that these things still exist in our country. Like that it's unfathomable. I can't believe it, So yeah, I think that it's definitely changed my mind. I was always like, of course all lives matter. I've worked my ass off. I'm not white privileged, but I am. And I never got it before, but I am white privileged because I never have to walk outside of my apartment and worry about those things.
Yeah.
For that simple fact. And that's what people need to understand. It's not saying that my life's been easy. You know me. I worked my butt off. I've worked for the things that I have.
I've known you long enough. Yep.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's about the privilege of me being a white girl walking down the street. I don't have to ever worry about those things. It's not something that even crosses my mind. And it's, I think, very hard to live being of color and having to deal with that, or sitting down, African-American families, sitting down with your kids and saying, this is the way it is. this is how scary it is. But if you get pulled over by a cop, don't do anything, put it there, you do whatever they say, and constantly building a fear. And it's just, things have to change. I agree with that. Things have to change.
Yeah. My mother, I said in the last episode, my mom, as you know, worked at a law firm, a prestigious law firm for 32 years. And when she moved out of New York City, because she would do legal work for them at night, they would provide a limousine service for her, to take her home. So cops were doing random stops for people coming in and out of the New York City. I think at the time there was a gun running project. I think they were funneling guns, purchasing guns legally upstate and then selling them to people in the city. So they were doing random stops for this and that. So they stopped her car, asked the driver for ID, right? Normal. Then something strange happened. They asked the driver to get out of the car. Can you get out of the car and talk to us? So driver who's white, he gets out of the car and he's talking to them. And then they tap the window, tell my mom to roll down the window. And they're like, excuse me, do you have ID? And listen, our parents, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Flatbush Avenue. Okay. My mom is a black woman. I came from the womb of a black woman. All right. My grandma's black. I have 3 sisters. They're black. All right. The only reason why I'm white is because my dad's white. So I enjoy white privilege and I'm oppressed. Okay. I'm all kinds of fucked up right now. So, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but listen, but I don't think anyone understands more than someone who's biracial. Nobody gets us better than us, period. I say that with no chauvinistic conceit. So,
no, I hear you.
My mom could have went the black taught route. Just do everything they say, show him ID, even though it's not his fucking right to ask you for ID. Get out of the car, even though you have no, he doesn't have a warrant, he has no cause. You have basic 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights. Okay, to one, not answer that guy's question, to ask for his supervisor or legal counsel, and all of these things were in the middle of being violated when my mom decided to ask him why. She didn't say no. She said why, and he could have said, hey, listen, there's a gun running project. No, because he saw a black woman. If you asked why. And he told you why, and you said, fuck you, I'm not showing you my ID. You have that privilege. Okay? He's not going to make you get out of the car, but because he saw black, he said, don't get fucking smart. Show me your ID.
Oh boy. Okay.
And my mom, mind you, she went to Fordham Law School. Okay? She works at a fucking law firm. She does legal work for a law firm. So you're really fucking with the wrong person right now. And my mom says no. My mom says, no, I'm not. Well, they're like, well, you don't show us ID, we got to take you in. And she's like, no, I'm not showing you my ID. Get out of the car. She's like, no, I will not get out of the car. And then all of a sudden, the police, who were supposed to be de-escalating the situation because of his ego, because some of these guys that have a badge think you're supposed to do everything they say at any time because of their protection. All right. So that's one. And two, his ego, and two, because he doesn't look at a human being. He doesn't see a woman. He doesn't see you. He sees you. He says, that's a woman. He sees my mom. He sees her. That's a black woman. You're a woman? That's her? That's not a woman. That's a black woman. Yanks her out of the car, throws it to the ground, puts his knee in her fucking back. She spent fucking 2 days and a day and a half in jail till my father got her. Okay?
Oh my God.
She ended up suing the department. And it's uncomfortable because she settled out of court and they're taking out of the cop's check and the cop still sees her in supermarkets. So it's one of those things, he kind of like sees her and rolls his eyes at her. My mom's like,
she's like, hi, how you doing, officer?
Show me the money. Show me the money, asshole. So,
wow, that's a story. That's incredible.
I'll go further. My grandmother, who lives in the Astoria Projects in Queens, got arrested for planting a tomato garden in Queens. The cops asked her what she was doing, and she's planting the tomato garden. Asked if you have a permit, and she says, "I don't need a permit for that. There's no regulation." It's like, I'm not sure that's true. And she's like, "Look, I'm 84 years old. I have my cane's over there. I'm gonna need my cane. I just want to be left alone." So they keep pressing her. So she gets old and cranky, and they throw her in the back of a squad car. 84-year-old woman. They got in trouble because she's so involved. When you're older, you get more involved in the community. You know who your assemblymen are. You know who your state senators are, and they know who she is. So basically, the chief to the captain, everybody got it on down. Why? Because she's planting a tomato garden in the ghetto, and because she didn't do what someone that works for you is telling you to do. Why I gotta do what you say? No. You do what I say. All right. Third case, and this is just my family alone. My uncle, retired master sergeant, 27 to 30 years in the military, moved to Indiana, was accused of statutory rape, was held in custody for 22 hours. I call it a police coercion tactic. What they do is they give you coffee. They don't give you food. They hold you against your will. You don't even know to ask for a lawyer, because honestly, once you ask for a lawyer, that's it. Game over as far as I'm concerned. Unless the Patriot Act circumvented that, which we'll get into, whatever. So he was held up for 22 hours, and they tell you can go home if you say if you admit it. We'll let you go. You can go home, which is a lie. But listen, it's not illegal for them to lie to you. It's only illegal for you to lie to them. All right. So my uncle, 22 hours, didn't give up the goods. He could have, and a lot of men, black or white, would have. 22 hours, you're exhausted, they're keeping you up. It's like cutting off your eyelids and feeding you sleeping pills. All right. And didn't give up the goods. Finally, my father drove there, lawyered up. We have a cool Jewish lawyer in the family, got him out. My other uncle, when I was 8 years old, got shot by the police. 3 guys tried to rob him. He pulled the gun. He grabbed the gun from them, and in an idiotic gesture tried to rob them. The police came to the scene and shot him, dead. So listen, I am not a black guy that empathizes because I have 1 or 2 black friends. I'm not a guy that empathizes because I came out of the womb of a black person. I am a guy who speaks from experience. 4 different cases I gave you, not from friends of a friends, not from your black friend's mom, my relatives. Okay. And my mom spent a year with the police because she was interning for the DA's office or something or whatever. So she used to ride with them, so It's not like she didn't support the police. She still supports the police, Hermosa Beach, I have my white, or I won't call it white or black privilege. I have my Hermosa Beach privilege. I can support the police, because these guys treat everybody, black and white, like human beings. Right? It's a small community, Hermosa Beach. They know the homeless guy. They know that guy works at Starbucks. They know Jason lives up the hill. They know people. So when you know people, you're not a sentry. You're not fucking RoboCop. Yeah. You're a police officer, a public servant to serve and protect. I enjoy that privilege now, but I got to tell you, the road was long.
It sounds it. Gosh, you have some stories. I can't believe that happened to your family.
Yeah.
Wow.
All of that happened when we were working at Rosenfeld's office. All of that happened in that small.
Wow.
Yeah. All of that happened in a 5-year span. You were with Dr. Rosenfeld and Dr. Holly Anderson, with Weill Cornell. We were guys, for everybody listening. It was Cornell Cardiology Consultants. It was the single best cardiology practice with the most capable, blue chip, top notch, overqualified staff you will ever. We had some of the smartest fucking people in the world working for nickels and dimes.
Oh my God. That was, I always say, if I can work there for as long as I did, I can work anywhere. I can do anything, because that was an education. I had just moved to the city. I think I was 23 when I first started working there, and I worked so hard. You worked just as hard though. I remember I would have 5 minutes to eat, and I'd be working like a 10-hour day, like just insane. But I got so much great experience, and working with both Rosie and Holly. I mean, Holly really took me under her wing. She taught me a lot of things. She taught me like how to read ECGs and, look at chest x-rays and had certain cases that would come in, things that were interesting. And she didn't have to do that, but she really did. And Rosenfeld was a good guy too. I mean, I didn't work very much
fucking
with
humor.
him.
He's one of the funniest old men I've ever met in my life, dude. Well, you told me a story. We're not going to talk about it. No, not in this. I mean, you're a little too shy. I mean, if I were you, I would tell it because I'm less shy. Oh my God. So I'll tell everybody a story about Rosenfeld. That's cool. It's a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
For those of you listening, Dr. Rosenfeld had was someone we call the Doctor of the Stars. His patients were anyone from Ron Howard to Sophia Loren to Milos Forman to Walter Matthau at that time, Lauren Bacall,
Right.
also
Lauren
known as
Bacall.
Lee Strasberg, Anna Strasberg at the time. Yeah, Betty, right? I'll tell you a cool story about her later. But so this guy who's the Doctor of the Stars, who wrote a book called Rosenfeld's Guide to Alternative Medicine, he didn't care. His opinions were unsolicited because he was already rich. So it's not like someone was paying him to stretch the truth, right? He had his own show, Fox House Calls on Fox
That's
News.
right.
So the writer and editor for Vogue magazine and Parade magazine for the health department. So just all over the place. So cool story about Dr. Rosenfeld. He's getting an award for the American Heart Association. Physician of the Year. By the way, the only time they've given out that award. One cardiovascular award, one time. This is 1996. You were still there.
Oh yeah.
So the whole time I'm like, I can't go. They're like, are you going? I can't go. I can't go. And the reason why I was saying the big secret, the big dirty little secret is I couldn't go is when someone told me it was a black tie affair. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm black and I got a tie, And they're like, no. It's no. It's like, no. That's not what it means, dude. Black tie affair. Educate yourself. It means you gotta wear a tux. You're black and you got a tie. What?
He was a trip.
So when I found that out,
he did not care.
No, but when I found that out, Kathy, I couldn't afford a tux. I'm from fucking Flatbush Avenue. We don't even know the difference between a suit and a tux. To us, it's like, come on, that's like a guy looking at a girl's bikini and a girl's panties. We don't know the fucking difference. Why are you running to the other room when you wore a fucking G-string on the beach? Why are you running? Because you're wearing tighty, where you're wearing big whiteies. So we don't know the difference. So when he found out why, I just came clean and I said, I don't have a tux. And I can't afford it. He says, well, go rent one. And I'm just like, you're not listening to me. Rent one. It's even worse. I can't keep it. So right, rent one. So what he does is he makes a call to Bergdorf Goodman. All right. And his new driver at the time, Hernando, because his old driver was Igor.
Fernando, I remember him.
So his driver drives me to Bergdorf Goodman, right? And I go to Bergdorf Goodman, and they have a four-person team waiting for me because they think it's him, right? So they have a suit, and they have size suggestions. They even have a fucking male model wearing it, and they're like, "Is he coming?" And I'm like, "No, the suit's for me." And they all looked at each other. They just went, "Oh shit, you can go home, boys."
Oh my god!
So they ended up fitting me for a suit. I still have the suit in my closet. It's in fact you can't see it, and maybe I'll use my iPad camera and point it out. But actually no, that's a dress in my closet. We're not airing my laundry. The camera's gonna point at a dress. Nope. So,
oh my gosh, you're so funny.
So very important time in my life. There was an office manager who was hell bent on getting me fired. All right, her name was Stacy.
That was right. She left, and then I think I started the next day or something. Yeah. That was in 1996.
Oh, yep. So here's the weird thing. She got a gown, and she was gonna go to the Waldorf. Bill Clinton was supposed to be there. He didn't go. Terry Hamlish. All of these just big wigs.
Diane Sawyer gave the speech for that.
Yes.
Remember? I was there. I went too. Yeah, it was wonderful.
So I went late. I went really late, so no one knew that I was there, and nobody knows. Now, only Camilla knew that Rosenfeld did what he did. Like Chris Wallinger, Stacy, Trudy, none of them knew. I didn't want to air it out. So what happened was she was on her way. The office manager who's trying to get me fired was on her way to the Waldorf, and she gets a phone call saying that they want to see her at headquarters at Weill Cornell. She never came back.
Oh.
So this guy got me a tux, got the person that was trying to get me fired, and I stayed with him another 12 years. I ended up just being loyal. You knew I was
he
there
loved
too
you.
long.
He really loved you.
But
Remember,
you
he
knew I
used
was
to
there too
scream our
long.
names on the intercom. Jason, got it.
But when you're old, you could do that.
Carmen.
Yeah, Carmen. Carmen.
Carmen.
Hello, Hall.
Oh my gosh,
Hall.
it was crazy.
Hall. Hall. Holly. Hall.
That's
Hall.
exactly what he sounded like. Oh man.
So another cool
what a
story.
job.
Another cool story. I saw Sophia Loren's breast. When I was
Really?
Yeah, he asked me to get him some samples of some kind of medication. So his examining room door is connected to his office. It's open, but it's open in an angle where you can't see her, except there's a mirror on the door. So I lost
I saw them too.
So
I saw them too. I did a
they're
Holter monitor on
fucking
her.
perfect, dude. She was like 68 years old, and for a minute I looked, and I knew I wasn't supposed to see anything because the angle I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
But on the reflection in the mirror on the door, she's sitting in the exam room thing, sitting upright, and these fucking things are at the position of attention, and you know what she's doing? She's looking back at me like this. Because she's pleasant like that.
I did not know this.
Because she's pleasant like that. Like, right? Sophia says hi to everybody. Sophia
She's
remembers
lovely,
people's first names. How cool is that for virtue? She remembered you by first name, me by first name. And that woman is busy from the moment she shuts her eyes to the moment she opens them. So I just go to the front desk like this. And it was Brenda and Vanessa. And they're like, and I'm like, I saw Sophia's breast, and then I walk away, and everybody just looks at me like,
How did I miss this? How did I miss that? My God. I didn't know
Well, he
that.
was Rosenfeld's patient, so I mean, great stories. Like there was Arnold
so
Scazzi.
many.
Remember him, the clothing designer, Arnold Scazzi, little scumbag.
Yeah.
Sounds like Brain from Pinky and the Brain. Hello, Raymond. Raymond. He's Arnold Scazzi. He's a clothing designer. So he's in an examination room talking about what a bitch and a tramp Vera Wang is. And in the other examination room, because she was Dr. Anderson's patient, was Vera Wang cracking the fuck up. Just like, does this guy know I'm in the other room just laughing?
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Do you remember Sally Struthers when she came in? How nice she was, how lovely she was.
Yep. For those of you at home, Sally Struthers was all in the Family. Archie Bunker's daughter. She's
so awesome. She was so sweet. I remember her saying, "What's your name?" And then I told her, she's like, "Well, I'm Sally. It's nice to meet you." So kind. All I did was her cardiogram and took her blood. But she was the sweetest woman. I mean, really amazing. Yeah. It was kind of nice, Jason, if you think about it. Like, we worked there for pennies, but the whole world was kind of brought to us. All the people that we met, all the experiences we had. Remember Diane von Furstenberg's dress party? Did you go there?
Yes.
Yes. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It was a book party. It was a book party for Rosenfeld.
That's right. It was her book party, or his book party, and she threw him a party.
What a
that was
spot,
nice.
Dude. It was great because I felt like I was on the club scene and the old person scene and didn't have to. And like you said, we didn't have to go to it.
No,
it came to
us. It
all
came to us.
Yeah. President Clinton,
so many,
President Robinson, Prime Minister Budo. I mean, just a great, Hold on, who you saying?
Richard Holbrooke as well. Like, there was just so many people that came in there. Yeah, there's so many people that were. Yeah, it was really. Remember Lina de Lorefice?
Yes.
And her husband was a composer and wrote a song for Holly. Actually wrote a song, or not a song, a piece for her, which I thought was lovely.
Yeah, great cast. After you left, Sean Combs, P. Diddy was there. He wanted the cardiological evaluation before he did a marathon. She did a house call for Usher.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, what happened was she was going to do the house call, and when she came, Usher's like, "No, I can't do it. You got to come back later." And you don't fuck with Holly Anderson like that. How you want to talk about power women? Look, you people like you. There's my mother. There's you, and there's Holly. And there's Lauren Bacall, and these women that they don't exist anymore. Okay, they're not born anymore. You don't fuck with that kind of woman, yo. Holly said, "Listen, it is today, or I'm just not doing it." I mean,
Yeah.
what's your pleasure? She says, we do it now or because she left her patients to do the house calls. She doesn't even do house calls. She,
No,
no.
she doesn't.
Yeah,
That
she's
was
like
nice
you.
of her.
She's like, what do you want, a lap dance and oral sex too? No, I'm here to give you,
She did not put up with any of that news.
No. And let me tell you something. She recommended someone really, really good to talk about this immunology and infectious disease and all that stuff with Dr. Paul Smith. She sent me an email and she's like, get with him. He's the guy, I'll let him know you're emailing him, whatever. And I was like,
you should, that's a great
I might do
opportunity
both.
for you.
I might do both. I chose you because you were the ones advising the doctors. You were the one steering all the doctors who wanted more information in the right direction. You've done some really important work.
That's really not my role. My role is really as a monitor, as I'm verifying data. So of course, you get trained in certain therapeutic areas, but my job is to really verify data and make sure that it's correct and making sure what's being reported to the FDA is correct in the system. So I train doctors for new studies when we do site initiations, but
and science has been your whole entire high school and college life.
What?
So the sciences.
Yeah, I love it. I love science. I've always been a science fan. I've always.
Do you watch Big Bang Theory?
Huh?
Do you watch Big Bang Theory?
No, I don't. I see some episodes, but not a lot.
My girlfriend loves Big Bang Theory. I can't freaking stand it. Do you know why? Because after a while it gets repetitive. Like, Sheldon's like, do you remember this one time last night when I had to walk the dog, but the dog pooped and I didn't want to pick up the poop and somebody else did? I'm just like, oh God. He just did that in one sentence. 7 times in one episode. Cool, man. What were you binge watching? You were binge watching some shows.
Homeland. I loved Homeland. I was so sad when it ended. I love that show. So good. Did you see the ending without spoiling it for anybody else? Did you see the last episode?
Yeah. Well, listen, spoiler. 3, 2, 1, fuck off. Go ahead. Your turn. Talk about the ending. I just gave everyone a 3, 2, 1 spoiler.
I'm not doing that. No, I don't want to ruin it for somebody else.
Okay. I really like the ending. And I really like the complicated relationships that this CIA spook had to do just so she could stay afloat, just so she could do her job. Talk about,
She did a great job acting that role. I thought she was so great. Oh, you know what else I'm watching? I know this much is true. With Mark Ruffalo, who I think is an amazing actor. He is playing both parts of the twin brothers, and he filmed scenes, I guess like a year before, or 8 months before, as a thinner guy, and gained all this weight to play.
A true actor, dude.
Have you seen it?
I saw the first one. The very
good.
First one. But
it's good.
I try to limit my programs to 4 a week because I watch and I participate as a coach and commentate, and I watch so much sports. First of all, volleyball, I'm balls deep in it. That's my career. Okay, that's my.
I know.
But
I still have that volleyball you gave me.
Yeah.
Way back in 1999. I totally do.
But no, big in the NFL. I'm big into MMA. I'm big into the NBA. So there were only a limit. Like Homeland was one of the programs I watched. Madam Secretary is one of them. And of course, any miniseries like The Wire, Band of Brothers, anything that I knew was 10 episodes that I didn't have to follow religiously. That there was where you saw the series and there was an end game. I'm like, yeah, I could rock that. I could do that. But yeah, I didn't get to see the Ruffalo. Only the first episode. I did see Dark Water.
It.
Dark Water's a suggestion. Good movie. West Virginia.
What is?
West Virginia, about the water in West Virginia. It's called Dark Water. It's Mark Ruffalo.
No, I haven't seen that.
He's the lead in that. Very, very good movie. My girl's from West Virginia, and she, her and her family suggested I see it, and I ended up watching that. He played a good Hulk. He's a good everything, man. Mark Ruffalo's good at everything. Yeah,
he is so good.
So my binge shows were Bosch. It's on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I never got into that. I
wouldn't if it wasn't for Kelly. Also, House of Cards, had to catch up on that. I'm on the very last season before they canceled Kevin Spacey.
I know, what drama. I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
They film a lot in my neighborhood. They film Power here. Right down the street, they have a beautiful house that I mean, they haven't, since the COVID stuff has hit, they haven't done anything in my neighborhood. But I'm always taking pictures of these things saying Power or The Americans they filmed in my neighborhood, and some other shows. And I watched Power. I loved it. It was
What
so
about
good.
Men in the High Castle?
Yes, I've watched that too.
That is just you. I have to subtitle that. I have to
Really?
subtitle that. I just want to make sure. No, because there's so many details. And
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
good.
that like there's so much. Like if you just listen to dialogue and watch the screen a little bit, there's so many details aesthetically that you'll miss. Like the way someone holds their pistol, this person's rank, just little intricacies that make you watch it all over again. But for me, subtitles, I'm good.
Do
You
you
know,
rewatch shows? Because I do. I rewatch as well.
I'm gonna rewatch
Stuff
The
that I really
Wire
like.
because The Wire is so relevant to what's happening right now, as far
I need
as
to watch that. I never gave it a chance. I know it's set in Baltimore, right?
yeah, watch
Yeah.
The Wire because if you want a full appreciation of the black man in urban areas and their
Mhm.
relationship with the police, it's 5 seasons.
Oh wow.
First of all, the first season is the wiretaps, just learning how to the drug dealer staying one step ahead of the cops, right?
Hmm.
Cell phones, you wiretap. All of a sudden they're using pay phones, then you wiretap the pay phones. They're using burners, but it takes 2 weeks to get a warrant for the burner. So by the time you get the warrant, they already used the burner,
Already
it's thrown
done.
out, so they just throw them out and buy new burners. And then
Wow.
all of a sudden, picture messaging. You have to the wiretap has to crack the code for that. So the first season's that. The second season's like union workers and how the police and crime affects the union dock workers.
Yeah.
The third one is about drug kingpins, the changing of the crowns. The fourth, and this is very sad, I fucking cried, is the school system in Baltimore and kids coming up and the parent, this kid's parents is this one's broke, that one's okay, this one's a crack addict, this one doesn't even have
Wow.
parents. So and then the fifth season is McNulty inventing a serial killer to get funding for the police department. He
Wow.
manufactured a serial killer.
Wow.
And the media. So season
You
one
really like that
so
show.
season one's drugs, season two is unions, season three is politics. There's a white guy running for mayor. The fourth season's the school, and the fifth season's the media and how the media does the news and how
I've been
what they
watching
choose
way too
there.
much TV lately.
You
It's just
have
like
to see
it's
this though.
too much.
You have
Too
to see
much.
this.
But I will.
Dominic West, who's a Brit,
I
has
love
has
him.
a
Who is it? The fair.
perfect Baltimore accent. Perfect
He's
Baltimore
English.
accent. I know he is. I saw him
Yeah.
in The Seagull in England, in London. I saw him playing this.
Oh, really?
I saw him play Constantine in The Seagull. A young Dominic
Wow.
West. Yeah, they won the London Evening Standard Award for that. Yes, I'm big on Dominic West. 300 too. He's in that. Remember, he's a little bad guy, a little sleazeball in 300. So Dominic West is
Oh
in it.
yeah, it was.
And the cast, like, there's a guy who's a crack addict that was so good at his role. Security ran him off the set twice because they thought he was an addict. Security ran him off the set.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, and then on another instance, an addict actually gave him drugs. So there were two instances. There was an addict that gave him drugs, and we went to the store to get like food, and then when he tried to come back on 2 occasions, security ran him off. But that's how deep
Oh
they were
my
into their
gosh.
characters. And all of those characters, you'll see them. They're younger because The Wire's a while ago. You'll see all of them. You're like, oh my God, that guy's in this show today. Oh, that guy's in this show today. They all got work. Just an amazing cast. The Wire. You have to. You must see it to appreciate the
Okay,
state
I
of
will. I'm
the
gonna
state of
do
the
it for
black
you.
man. The state of the black man in urban United States of America. Okay.
Okay, I will.
Cool, man. Shoot, man. Wow, that was a whole bunch. Is there anyone you want to plug or any site or any as far as research or just friends
Well,
or
I mean, a lot of people ask me about, being a research subject. If you guys are interested in knowing the kind of trials that are being done, not everything is in the mainstream media. So go to clinicaltrials.gov, G-O-V, and it has a listing. And if you put in COVID in the search button, you can see all the different studies that are being done right now in the world. And I was kind of blown away looking at that, how many different, so we're on the right path, doing the research and getting that safety data. So yeah, and I guess, that's it.
Hey, is it should we not play volleyball right now? Doubles. I'm not sixes is out of the question. It's a packed gym. It's a zombie apocalypse. I get that. How safe is doubles volleyball?
Jason, I'm not a doctor. I can't really answer that. I mean, it's a risk. So you have to really just think, okay, are you willing to take the risk to do it? Like, transmission rates are different in every state. I certainly wouldn't do it in New York. I just think that, we just don't know enough.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to assess the situation. And if you're going to accept the risk of something happening, that's really what it comes down to.
The reason why I'm asking is because the official ball is some of it's composite leather, some of it's genuine leather, and some of it's another type of leather. It's this mixture of fake and real leather. And,
it's just a risk. I mean, I would be hyper vigilant. Like, you got to wash your hands. Like, I don't know. Can you play with gloves?
I saw this viral video.
I'm totally kidding.
I saw this.
I'm just saying it's a risk.
I saw this viral video where these guys are passing back and forth just to warm up, and they were passing high enough. Like, I passed the ball really high, and while the ball's being passed, I grab Purell and I do this with my hands, right? And then you pass, and when you pass the ball high, I'm ready to pass back, but while you pass the ball, you Purell. So we both had Purell on. So it's like pass.
Oh my gosh.
Pass.
Oh, I don't even. And I'm sure it's like that the solution that you use, like the what's it called? The hand sanitizer is probably bad for the leather on the volleyball. So
because it's mixed, it's good. The new ball is good. Like the old ball, like the ball I gave you, like the ball I gave you, that ball would warp. If you put hand sanitizer on that ball I gave you,
I remember you gave that to me. That's so nice.
Because it's 100% leather. It's 100% genuine leather, and it'll just warp. And then your forearms will start to hurt when you pass it because the leather's doesn't have the soft touch anymore, right? So that's my science. I'm the scientist.
Pretty good.
No, but I think we agree, and we're gonna wrap up in a minute. I think we agree really, as far as my sport is concerned. I respect when people do studies, but I do vet the studies. But at the end of the day, the scientist is me. I've been coaching 20 years. You do a drill, you find out, you see how the drill works, you see how the drill doesn't work. You talk to other coaches about the drill. So, I mean, for people watching, and I have a huge volleyball following. It's a volleyball podcast, or started that way. For the people that have been in the business as long as me, guys, we're the scientists. We know what works and what doesn't over the years.
Your stuff. You really, you don't take things for face value. You actually read and you do your research and you look things up and from reputable places and make up your own mind. And that's what really needs to happen.
Yeah, but it's a lifelong series of studies as a coach. It's a lifelong series of experiments and studies to see what works and what doesn't. And now, as far as the why, you can delve in and then see what studies correlates that or whatever and this and that. But I'm very happy to say, in my trade, the scientist, the real scientists are us. You man, you are. You're one of the good guys doing the right thing with the world. I love what I see. I miss you to pieces, and it's so good to see your face.
It's so good to see yours too. Keep in touch and let me know.
Gosh, she did her hair for me.
I'm the first goose. Inside joke.
Definitely.
Now you're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. You wait till I get in that living room. She's gonna be like this. No.
I miss you. So yeah, I would love to see you. So I would love to meet Kelly too, because I did meet her once. I met her once. She came into your work.
No, never.
No?
No, I met her in 2011.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she did come into my work, but listen, by the time she came, Rosenfeld's already gone and Holly was moving. So,
wow.
Holly was moving.
When did I leave? I left in 2000. So,
that was the biggest project of my life.
I only worked there 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was.
Biggest project of my life was helping Holly move the charts. All of them had to be electronic. So
didn't they have to go electronic, or did you scan them?
Yep.
I think I remember that.
A 1 year project. They gave me my own office, this huge room, and a computer. So I just asked him for a second monitor so I could watch football and basketball and scan at the same time. And it was
Wow,
fun.
that's a job.
Yeah.
That is
I have a
such a
gift.
job.
I can do cabin fever. Like COVID, like or whatever. I can do nothing for a long time. I'm good at doing nothing. You know?
I thought that
Kelly
way
Kelly
too, but
Kelly's losing her mind right now, dude.
no, I feel for her because I understand it. It's just crazy. And you have a daughter, you have to think about and worry about with this whole COVID thing. And are you guys, I don't know how old she is. Is she in kindergarten or?
We pulled her out.
Okay.
We
Well,
pulled,
yeah, but
we pulled her out.
you have to.
We pulled her
Scary.
out, and a week later they shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because kids get sick.
Oh.
Kids bring home. Kids are kids. They're gonna bring home everything, dude. We know that. So, all right. I held you up long enough. I don't even know how you sat in
Okay.
one spot. Some of my friends are savages, and we just keep going. But
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
That's right. Cool. Hey,
You take
listen,
care.
ladies and gentlemen, this is Katherine Parent. This is my lab rat, my brain for Pinky and the Brain, and for all of you at home. For all of you online right now with your iPad at Starbucks, for all of you watching on your iPhone, for all of you watching this on your desktop, for all of you watching the live version, we're available later on iTunes and Spotify. For Katherine Parent, I am Jason DeBias, and we both say, we're out.
What? Wow.
Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.